What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. So this is a direct reply video to Nick's Strength and Power, and this is not a shots fired, calling him out, all this bullshit, the happy horse shit that people like, the drama. There was a video that Nick posted, I saw, and he posed the question himself. He was talking about HADI Chupan and Shaun Clarida, and if Shaun was able to win the open class because of condition, then why wasn't HADI able to beat the bigger guys based on his condition, because he was the most conditioned guy at the Olympia, right? How does this work? Somebody please tell me. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what Nick said, and that's what I'm here for. Now, before we go any further, I am an NPC local, regional, and national judge. I do judge national shows. I am a head judge. I'm one of 3 head judges here in the Mid-Atlantic Zone. I'm an IFBB Pro judge, and I've judged internationally as a head judge in Mexico. So I have a different perspective than a lot of people that seem to think they know what bodybuilding is about. And even the competitors themselves being judged sometimes don't even know the criteria or what they're being judged on. Now, let me explain. We had people, Regan Grimes, of course, looked phenomenal. I mean, let's just say that right now. Plain and simple. I like Regan. He's a great guy. He's got a great physique. I don't think we've seen the best Regan yet. But he had, of course, he's a big guy in the 250, 260 range, period. He's a big dude, right? Now, we had other people that were pretty big, like Sergio Olivia Jr. and Justin, I can't remember Justin's last name, that were saying stuff like, Sergio said in a joking, tweet or post or whatever, if I lose to somebody 100 pounds less than me, I'll retire. And then Justin said something to the effect, if you lose, I'll retire too, ha ha ha, and they were joking. Now, I know it's a joke, but what's behind that joke is, I'm so much bigger than this guy, there's no way he can beat me. And what's fucked up is these are pros, right? And Sergio's won the friggin' New York Pro before, right? And he's been to the Olympia I don't know how many times. And they actually don't understand that it's not about size. Just because you outsize someone does not mean you're going to win. Just because Rami won and he's the biggest guy doesn't mean he won because of the size. Okay? There are bigger guys throughout history. Lou Ferrigno was the biggest motherfucker that ever stepped on a stage up to that point. And he was like 12th, right? We had guys like Tom Prince that were fucking gigantic that were outweighing Dorian, and Dorian was still beating them. Right, we have guys like Flavio Baccanini back in the day. He was about 3 feet tall. He was beating a lot of guys that were fucking bigger than him. So it's not all about size, right? And I think they get that wrapped up in their head, and I think that has a lot to do with the lack of conditioning that we see in general on a lot of these open class guys. They just don't come in hard, gnarly, grainy, and dense like they should, because they're so like, it's about size. If I come in 2 pounds heavier, 4 pounds heavier, whatever, they want to be able to say I'm 4 pounds heavier on stage. They don't even understand what they're doing in competing, and that's the part that's fucked up. And then what they do is after the show, they come to the judges. They'll come up to me and say, hey, what should I do? What's your feedback to improve for next time? And you give them that feedback. And then what they do is they don't listen to the judges. The judges who are sitting there while you're on stage giving you your placings, you don't listen to them. You listen to your coach or your cousin or somebody at the gym. It makes no fucking sense to me why you would come to us, ask us our opinion, and then do the opposite because a coach told you. Like, even though you're going to come stand in front of us again and we're going to judge you based on the same criteria, and you're going to do the opposite again, it's fucking crazy. So we're here to clear up some things today. Now, Shaun Clarida did not beat Regan Grimes because of conditioning, okay? That's not why he beat Regan. And the judges absolutely 100% agree. I looked at the score sheets. Everybody had Shaun in first place. Straight first place votes. Boom. Everybody had Regan in second place. It was first and second straight across the board. Every judge agreed. Now, that being said, how did Shaun beat Regan if it wasn't just on conditioning? Hang on. So for me, one of the first things I like to do is I like to get the obvious right out of the way. When someone walks on stage, if there's one dude on that stage who's bigger than everyone else, that dude's going to win with mass, right? No, I don't mean win the show, but he's going to win that mass round, right? Because they're different rounds. Like, we'll get into this. Hang on. I know it's going to get a little deep, but this should be some understanding. So that's one of the criteria is mass. He's going to win that criteria, right? So we have Regan and Shaun standing there. Regan clearly is the bigger athlete. So mass, he wins that part of the criteria. Mass, size, boom, he's got it, right? And then we start looking at shape. Now you look at Shaun's shape compared to Regan. When they did the quarter turns, Shaun was unbeatable in the quarter turns, and that's where the shape really comes in. The proportions between the shoulders, the lats, the thickness, everything, the sweep of the legs, all of that stuff. Shaun looks like a small version of Flex Wheeler. He's got the tiny joints, the full muscle bellies, okay? So now it's 1-to-1. He's got the shape. Symmetry-wise, Shaun on both sides of his body, and symmetry doesn't mean how everything flows. That's shape. Symmetry is this lat the same size as this one? Is this arm the same size as this one? You look at Shaun's actual symmetry, his symmetry is very close to being almost perfect. I'm not going to say perfect because everybody's got a little something off. But hands down, his shape is better. So that's 2-1, right? Now you start to look at conditioning. Listen, let's be real. It's not like Regan was fat. He was conditioned. But Shaun was more conditioned. He was harder. He was leaner. He had places that were just that much tighter, especially his lower back was more developed and was much tighter condition-wise than Regan. So he's up to 3 parts that he has, or 3 pieces of the criteria compared to Regan's 1, right? And now we look at density, right? When you look at the muscle, does it look like it's solid or does it look like squishy, like you can push it in? Shaun had much better density than Regan did, right? So now you have 4 attributes to the criteria compared to 1, all right? That's what the criteria is. Now, so 4-1, Shaun's winning already 4-1. It's a blowout, all right? It's not neck and neck. It's not tie. It's a blowout, 4-1, plain and simple. Now you start going through the poses, right? And these poses, one by one, ranking them first to last. Regan did win some poses based on his size and his structure. But when you get, Shaun in these poses, you can see the hardness, the details. His physique was more detailed than Regan was. Regan looked a little bit flat to me. So Shaun had the detail and he was fuller. Okay, so that's 6 compared to Regan's 1. So he beat Regan 6-1 based on the criteria. And every judge agreed, straight first place votes. He beat Regan fair and square. Now, just because he's short, if you take all those other guys off the stage and you just focus on him, right? And you have a camera on him so that you can't see his stature, like how tall he is, right? His physique is pretty damn good. It is pretty near flawless. It is very much his front relaxed pose. Reminds me of Flex Wheeler and Dorian Yates combined together. Now that's a crazy look, right? But his frame, he's got a compact frame, right? Packs on so much muscle in that frame. But those quarter turns, those mandatories that he does, I'm telling you, he was on fucking point, plain and simple. Now, you look at those things and you look at HADI Chupan. Why didn't HADI beat these guys? He had better conditioning. What is conditioning? Okay? For some reason, people think striations are conditioning. Look, I've seen people in the fucking off season that have striated glutes, striations in their shoulders, striations in their biceps, while they're 15% body fat. Striations are not conditioning. Striations are genetic. Okay? Back in the 90s when Dorian would do his overhead am and thigh, you had guys like Flex and all these other guys that were squeezing their quads, showing the feathering in their quads. Right? Kai Green has got great feathering in his quads. When he locks his leg out, the vastus lateralis, you can see that feathering, right? It looks like a bird's feather, right? Well, Dorian didn't have that, right? Genetically, he didn't have it. But what he did was come in gnarly, grainy, hard, and he would pick his leg up and show his adductor, and the other guys didn't have the adductors because they weren't as lean. Like, that's conditioning. Striations are not conditioning. They are genetic. Matter of fact, there was an individual named Andreas Munzer. If any of you guys remember him, you older guys, newer guys probably don't know, Google him. Andreas Munzer was one of the most striated people. He was striated in his fucking face. This dude was so striated, never placed higher than 10th, I think, at the Olympia ever. And he was big. He was big and striated, but it's not about striations. It's not about just size. That density that you get, like Brandon Curry had a density that Rami did not have. Okay, Rami had striations. Brandon had density, right? It's a different fucking look. Dorian had density. Shaun has density. HADI Chupan does not have density. He has striations. Now, that being said, when you look at HADI, his shape is not as good as Brandon's or Rami's, okay? So he doesn't have the shape. So let's say Brandon and Rami both have the shape, right? They both have density that HADI doesn't have. They both have size that HADI doesn't have, all right? So now, basically, what's HADI got? He's got some striations, right? Okay, so that's 3-1 that the other guys have over him already. It's already getting to be a blowout, right? Quad-wise, I mean, his quads may be big, but they don't have the sweep that the other guys have. That's 4. So again, these guys are blowing him out of the water, but you don't see it because all you see is some striations. Like, he's the best, he's the best. Look, emotions don't fucking matter. What matters is what you look like on the stage. Now, another thing about HADI, and I'm going to be real, all right? I'm going to be totally real because it is the fucking pink elephant in the room. He's got these fucking lumps in his shoulders, okay? And they're very apparent. Now, it could be sight enhancement like oil, like synthol. It could be sight injections. I don't know if you're doing the Olympia, why you'd be injecting shit that week of the show anyways, right? But it could also be scar tissue from stuff that he's used in the past. Which, if that's the case, get that shit broken up, get it removed. I know guys that have had it taken out with surgery. I know guys that have had it removed with massage therapy, whatever it takes to get rid of it. Because there's no fucking way you're going to have lumps in your shoulders like that at the Olympia and wind up beating those other guys that don't have those lumps, period. When HADI puts his arms up like this, there's like these fucking triangles that pop up. It looks so unnatural. And now, don't get me wrong, these guys look unnatural to begin with their size. But it looks so fucking unnatural that there's no way you can reward it. Me, personally, I would have even rewarded him with third because of those lumps. I probably would have taken him down another couple placings because there are guys that had better physiques without those lumps that flowed better. But HADI got that gift because of his striations. Like, his striations are what got him that high. It's not going to get him to win it without those striations. He's 6th, 7th, 8th. Those striations are what keeps him in the running. But they're striations. They're not density. It's not conditioning. Okay? I mean, people can't get their heads wrapped around it. Conditioning. Look at these guys on stage. Anywhere you pinch them on their body, their fucking skin is this thin. There's no fat left on any of their body. They're like little wrinkles and shit in their lower back and their fucking, their glutes and stuff. There's no fucking fat left. That's conditioning. Now, whether you came in flat, you look like you weren't conditioning. When you hold in water, it may look like you're not conditioned. But the whole point is, these guys are conditioned. They're at the fucking Olympia level. All right? And if you're at the Olympia level, lumps in your fucking shoulders are not going to cut it. Not having enough density, but having striations, not being big enough, the guy didn't have the mass. That's just all there is to it, to bang with those guys in the top two. Right? You're missing these things. And he keeps bringing to me, I see the same fucking package over and over again. Right? While Brandon and Rami are improving, Nick Walker is improving, Hunter Labrada is improving, you know, like fucking all these guys are improving, and we see HADI bringing the same package, and he's still placing third. Look, you know, this is it. Either he's going to improve, get rid of those lumps in his fucking delts, and bring a new package, or this is where he's going to place. That's all there is to it. And as far as Shaun Clarida goes, I think that there's a lot of people that didn't understand what they were looking at. They didn't understand that Shaun, by himself, is dominant. He is very dominant. When you put him next to other bodybuilders, he exposes those weaknesses that they have. His strengths are the fact that he packs a lot of muscle on his frame, but his stature is short, right? But he's got a lot of muscle on his frame. Size-wise, he's good. Those super sweeping muscle bellies with the small joints, the hardness and the dryness, the way he poses shows his symmetry great, right? I mean, there's really not much you can knock on the guy other than when he does his hands clasp most muscular pose, he's really bunched up. Right, I'd like to see him drop his shoulders down a little bit more rather than doing it up here. Drop his shoulders down, which would make him a little bit wider from the front and give him a little more size from the front. But other than that, that's the only thing you can really knock on Shaun at any point right now. And the judges at the table saw it the exact same way. So, again, I get frustrated because, and I remember not knowing this stuff and thinking the same thing. And I'll tell you guys right now, you know, and this could be an experiment that, you know, Nick Strength and Power does at home, or you guys can do at home. I want you to take your camera and set it up like you would normally in your living room, whatever, wherever you take, you know, progress photos. Set it up there and run through your mandatories, right? Do your mandatories on a video, right? Run through your front double bicep, your front lat spread, your side chest, your side tricep, rear double bicep, rear lat, overhead ab and thigh, and most muscular. Run through all those poses, right? Then what I want you to do is I want you to take that camera off the stand, and I want you to put it at the ground at toe level, like foot level. And I want you to fucking angle it up slightly, and I want you to hit record again, and I want you to go through all those poses again. Do the same thing again. Then I want you to take your phone. I want you to go back and forth and look at it. Matter of fact, even take screenshots of the poses on each of them, whether from the toe height and the normal level. Put them in pick stitch and put them next to each other and look at the difference in the physiques. When your eyes are at foot level where the judge's eyes are, you see flaws that the person posing doesn't know you see, that the audience can't see. Because everything we do is facing head on, right? So we learn how to pose and twist and do everything we can to hide our flaws facing head on. When you drop that angle for where the judge's eyes are and you look up, it's a whole different fucking world. You see different looks on every athlete than you do when it's up high. Do it. See how much of a difference it makes. So in reality, Nick Strength and Power, me, whoever else that's watching this stuff online, on video, on picture, or whatever, we don't even see what the judges see. And they're like 10 feet away from the person. They can see things up close that we can't see. But the bottom line is, from the pictures, I could tell, plain and simple. And I saw Shaun a week ago at the Olympia. And what's crazy is right after he came off stage, he had the medal on his neck. I saw him in the foyer. And I walked up to him. We were talking for a little bit. I was like, listen, man, you know, don't get down. Like, you and Derek are just fucking apples and oranges. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. Your physique doesn't have any flaws. There's nothing to improve, man. It's literally just apples and oranges to see which one the judges like. That's all there is to it. And he goes, no, man, I'm good. I'm over it. I'm moving forward. Like, he was, on that day, still had the medal around his neck, was moving forward to doing what he's doing now. Right? He already had a plan and said, well, I'm done. This is the way it came out. Boom. I'm not going to sweat on it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm moving on to the next thing and my next goal. And he created something great again. He achieved something great again a week later, or 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, a week later. Anyways, he achieved something great right after the Olympia that, again, hasn't barely been done. I don't even know if anybody's ever walked out of the 212 and actually won their first open show or not. I'm thinking back, and I can't remember. I'm sure there were shows around that, were smaller shows. I don't know, but all I know is that he did something great again. And it's not something that I think people should be out there trying to figure out, how they could take that win away from him, being like, oh, he shouldn't have won because he was too small. He shouldn't have won this. He shouldn't have won. Well, if he's doing that, then HADI Chupan should win too. And if HADI Chupan can't win, then they shouldn't let Shaun win. And everybody should be fair. And I'm like, you guys don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. That's a problem. Until you know what you're talking about, it's all just static. It's all just noise out there, guys. And it's frustrating because these athletes, they place where they place, and the judges know what they're doing. And it seems like the people in the crowd, the fans, whatever, always think they know better. They think they know better than the athletes. They think they know better than the friggin' judges. It drives me nuts. I would love to see you guys sit down there at the table in a big show, or even a pro show, when that lineup moves like this. They're fast, and you got to take 35 people on stage and put them first through second in those call-outs like this. Fast. You need to know exactly what you're looking at, seeing exactly what you're looking at, knowing where they place. I would love to see them get through one judging panel at the end and see what they say. We have people test judge all the time, and they're like, holy shit, that was hard. Like, I couldn't keep up. That's the thing. You don't know what to look for. When you first start judging or you're test judging, you're looking at everything. You don't know exactly what you're looking at. You don't have the way where you come out and you take the most obvious thing, size. One guy may be the most conditioned guy. You take those obvious things, you go, he's the most conditioned, he's the biggest guy. Wow, but he's got the best shape. All right, we got a battle here. These guys, all fit part of the criteria. Let's see where they are in the mandatories, right? Then again, you got one guy that comes out sometimes and he's big and he's shredded and he's got the poses down. You're like, ain't nobody beating that guy. He goes through his mandatories. You're like, shit, there's nobody beating this dude, right? And then you got to start looking at second, third, fourth, fifth and start comparing from there. But the bottom line is, again, I think a lot of people run on emotion with this sport in general, the fans, etc. I think that it's a lack of education, and I think that more people, if they went and actually asked the judges themselves, rather than going on social media and just blasting people and say, why this, why that, I don't understand this, blah, 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 and just hackling like a bunch of fucking hens out there, which makes no sense, they could just ask somebody. All it would take was somebody to ask me, and I don't explain exactly what I'm doing here now, but I figure if I put the video out, people can watch this, they can share this, they can understand what they're looking at. So next time when they're looking at a show, they could be picking it apart with a trained eye and not just out of emotion, which that's not what these shows are based on. It's based on what you see, not on what you think, not on what you like, not on emotion, but what's standing in front of you on the stage. BileStringChang@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BileString.com is a blog. It's a What's on the Stage bicep, and we are out.